So, Mark, did you see that picture of the bat that this family found in their room at New York, New York? Apparently, it was flying around in the curtains. The dad went and killed it. He puts it out in the stairwell or something. Next day, he goes and tells the front desk, goes home to Arizona. They say, you got to get rabies shots because we don't know if the bat had rabies. And now they're suing New York, New York, and MGM, basically saying they were negligent. I don't know, like, why didn't they bring the bat downstairs right away? They threw it in the stairwell. What do you think?
I think it was their pet or something. I think this is a scam. No. When I first saw the headline, I was like, okay, I think they're asking for like 15, 16,000, nothing like outrageous testing, all that stuff. I get it. But then you hear the whole story where they dealt with this on their own and there was like 8 people in the room or something like crazy like that. And they didn't alert anyone. If I have a bat in my room, I go outside and I go down to the desk and I say, hey, send somebody up to take care of that. I don't wrangle it myself and then put it in the hallway. And then the next day be like, hey, by the way, killed a bat. And then get mad when they throw it away.
It just makes those beautiful New York, New York rooms even better, Mark.
It's because they're basements and the bats want to live in the basement.
Of like big stories and big properties and things we're going to talk about this week, including Resorts World. And this was a weird thing because somebody tagged me in a tweet showing the food hall there on Wednesday night, I think, or Tuesday night around 8:30. And I guess Monday through Thursday or whatever, they're closing half the food hall. It's not even open. And, it made me think about how big that food hall is compared to some of the others. Like they have so many different venues in there. But then the next day, 7 p.m. in the casino, and it was empty. So I don't know if this is what's happening on the rest of the strip. I haven't really seen empty casinos this week. So it's interesting. Is Resorts World struggling? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the complaint since they opened was that you didn't have late night eats or anything past like 8, 9 o'clock at night. So I couldn't even imagine if I went there during midweek and they have all their food. They don't have a ton of other food options outside of that are probably open or vibrant at that time. So that's like your grab and go type spot. And then you have to go out into like the mall area to sit down at some other dining area. But those are all higher end, expensive restaurants. So you don't really have anything. So now you're going off property. Maybe you're going to the Tacos El Gordo across the street or Peppermill, something like that. But you're losing that business. I guess there isn't really any business there. It's kind of crazy. It looks like Virgin Hotels. Everybody take a sip for
We got the Virgin Hotels mentioned. The good thing for Resorts World is it's a new property, so it doesn't have any leaks. So just a foreshadow to what's happening later in the show. But it's because like half the strip is leaking. It's insane. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I was there on Cinco de Mayo, obviously. That was during the week, but it was a holiday packed, and that was my last time really spending a lot of time at the property, like spending an entire evening there. Every other time I've been there recently, it's been fairly busy. So maybe it's just a slow week. Probably no conventions there. We'll see, but we'll keep an eye on that for everybody. I just realized on this show, we're going to talk about all the villains of Las Vegas, the current villains of Las Vegas. So let's start with James Dolan. Although I don't know if he's a villain of Las Vegas. A lot of people don't like him, but he brought this fear here. So I guess for Las Vegas, not really a villain. But we learned a few other things.
He's a villain of Knicks fans.
For sure. And one crazy story is he built a $2.1 billion sphere. A couple other things he mentioned in like an interview is that they're going to have robots and holograms, and they're doing all of that with their sort of theater show, the movie that we've talked about so much. So they're going to make it more, it sounds like almost like a theme park pre-show, attraction before you go into the movie. So, some interesting things as it comes. They're also, still looking for more residencies. We saw another leaked look inside of the screen. This time it wasn't deleted, so I can show it to everybody. And then Tommy Lee posted a video inside the Sphere on Instagram, leading to some speculation. Is Motley Crue or Tommy Lee himself, are they coming to the Sphere for a residency?
The first thing you look at, you're like, oh, did they get hacked? What is this? But they're just testing the video. It's like a double-edged sword, though. I feel like the coolest, best view of the immersion for the screens is like the top back. But when you see the stage, you're like really, really far away from the stage. It's not all seats are good seats for seeing the show up front. But, do you want to be more seeing the people perform, or do you want to more see videos? It'll be kind of, for the movie aspect, I'm guessing you want to be upper deck probably to get all of that. But maybe for a show, you want to be kind of down center. So it'll be interesting to see once people are in there and you see stuff go live, which area is better or what the best seats are for that type of thing.
It's funny. I had the same exact thought. I was looking at those videos being like, where would be the best place to sit for this, to be able to see the show, see the screen? Definitely not all the way on the bottom, right? Obviously, you'd see the performers really close. I think the very top, like those 400 levels, you're probably missing some of the screen above. I don't know. I think like the 300 level, but it'll be interesting to see once it opens, we'll get a better idea. It's not like a traditional thing where you can say, yeah, closer is better. There's got to be some sweet spots in there, and I look forward to hearing about that. Dolan also talked about other spheres. When they first announced the Vegas sphere, they also announced a sphere in London, released concept art, and then that project has sort of just gone away, or we haven't heard anything about it. They do mention that they're still working on that project, and also that they've developed different versions of the sphere that could be as small as 2,500 seats. As a reminder, this has, I think, 17,500 with seating for up to 20K with like standing people in the back, stuff like that. So maybe 1/10, 1/9, 1/8 the size. So they're going forward with this, so I hope it's a financial success for them.
Yeah, that kind of like opens my mind up to a bit, or my eyes up. Like, maybe this is just like proof of concept. Vegas, they didn't care about the expenditure so much, and they want to sell whatever they've designed out of this, like lease it to people, the concept, the design, and they'll make money and fees off of that, building these around the world and taking a cut, that type of thing. I don't know if that's what they're looking to do, or if they're trying to, bring up some money that they'll invest themselves for it. But it does seem like, hey, we're going to show you what this can be, how cool it is, and then you can pay us to build it other places, even small ones, which I think makes more business sense than trying to make it all back off of this one sphere. But it'll be interesting to see if that plays out long term, or if they just end up killing it at the sphere and making the money back that way. I'm still skeptical that it will be a positive business experience, but I think it'll be really cool when it's all done.
You're just waiting for the MGM sphere.
That's true. Foreshadow 2030 MGM sphere unveiled.
And let's talk about the rain, Mark. So we had Hurricane Hilary. She kind of missed us. Didn't get that much rain. We were projected to get between 2 and 3 inches of rain in a matter of 4 to 6 hours with Hurricane Hilary. Well, a tiny like summer monsoon, which we get in Las Vegas, these kind of storm clouds that pass through, rains for an hour, doesn't even always rain all over the city. Like, for example, this cloud came through the other day. I got barely any rain at my house. They got up to like half an inch at Bellagio. UNLV got about a third of an inch. Other areas of the Strip a little bit less in about 30 minutes. And everything went to hell, Mark. Like, we missed the hurricane and then some little storm cloud comes through and the whole city. And I mean it. Like, Harrah's, did you see Winnie and Buck, where they used to be? The entire roof collapsed. Vital Vegas said it was the revenge of Winnie and Buck. So good on Winnie and Buck for coming back from the dead. Then Paris started leaking, and then Bellagio started leaking, and then there was a video of Topgolf leaking, and everything else going to hell. And of course, your favorite, the Link flood down there. As people like to point out, it was designed that way, Mark. It is a flood channel. But I think you and I both agree, maybe it's time to redesign it 50 years later, or is the 70s when that was built. There was so much crazy footage. I can't imagine what would happen if the hurricane came.
Yeah, I hope we get to use the Hillary meme again, the storm meme. Any reason to bring that up again is great. So hopefully Sean throws it up on the screen. But no, it's just crazy. You see these videos, you're like, wow, they must have got pounded. And then you're like, a third of an inch, and you're okay. You're like, and this happens every year. You think they would figure out a way to design the buildings or retrofit the buildings to make sure that they're not getting poured on. At least it wasn't like circa when the water was coming through the sportsbook screens. That was still the craziest thing I think I've seen from rain in Vegas. But flooding, even the streets in parts of Vegas were flooded really badly, and then other parts of Vegas got no rain. It's totally bizarre.
On a side note, I don't know if I've ever talked about this for people in Las Vegas, but if it's raining, go to the Adventure Dome. The entire dome has leaked since it was built. It's never been airtight. So if you walk around Adventure Dome, there's literally buckets so that it can catch all the water coming through. It's a lot of fun.
I don't think that's a good time.
Yeah, so go do that. But I wonder if this is really the deferred maintenance. We've talked so much about how buildings and the maintenance have kind of changed since the ownership of the building and the operations has changed in a lot of these casinos, especially the MGM and Caesars casinos. And I wonder if like some of that deferred maintenance is finally hurting them. I don't remember seeing this widespread flooding like all over the city. And multiple properties. And it was an insane sight. So we've got our crazy videos that we thought we were going to get with Hillary, but it was just some random monsoon.
Yeah, I think there's something to play in that, but I also think that they have design flaws. I mean, look at Circa, it's 2-3 years old, and they're getting pounded last year. So I don't know. I don't know if anybody doesn't consider the rain or the monsoon season that happens in Vegas every summer, but whoever builds the next one, hopefully Fontainebleau has that set up that they know what they're doing and they don't get flooded, year one that they're open.
What are the odds that the Fontainebleau has a leak in its first year, given everything we've seen? It's we just don't know how to handle rain. So Formula One is back in the news again. We're going to have to talk about them because they did something good. This is our second sort of villain of Las Vegas, and they had gone to every business and basically said, you have to pay us $1,500 a person for your occupancy. So if you have 1,000 people, 1,500 times 1,000, just like that. And there was a lot of backlash. And now they sort of backtracked a little bit. Now they're charging $50K for the entire venue. And this will get them access to the feed and get them the ability to sell packages and viewing, and they're not going to block their views and everything. So they backtracked on it. Are you happy about this? I mean, I think this is what they should have done in the first place. I'm glad people fought back a little bit, but it's a little strange how this race has come together, with Formula One coming to the government asking for more money, really destroying the streets for a long time without announcing the full scale of it, but kind of roll it out in piecemeal. And then it hasn't been a good start, but I'm glad to see that they changed their minds.
I think this is good. It makes sense for everybody. I understand they want to get money for their product if somebody's able to view it. So I don't have the problem with the setting a fee. And I think a set fee, because not everybody on these terraces or restaurants or anything like that are going to have a view of it. So to charge everybody the same fee, even if you're in the back and you can't see anything, I think is ridiculous. So the flat fee, I mean, $50K is still a burdensome thing to take on unless you can sell these tickets. And we've seen, Ellis Island hasn't been able to sell their tickets very much since they launched. And so who knows how well this will do? Maybe it'll be a money losing thing for the venues. We'll only have to see how that plays out. But I think this is a better fit for everybody, and they still get their money, and hopefully the restaurants can make money off of it too.
Yeah, this feeds more into the narrative of Formula One helping Las Vegas and helping Las Vegas businesses, instead of Formula One trying to come and take all the money out of the economy, which is what it seemed to happen. Or at least the hotels got some of the stuff, but these smaller businesses need that, and I'm glad that they're doing that. We also saw the bridge that they built, one of those temporary bridges, the one that's going over Harmon, and we saw it testing with like a CAT bus, one of our RTC buses, and it was kind of cool. I mean, it's interesting that they built this thing. It's going to be up there for a couple of months, and 2 lanes in each direction. Kind of fun.
I wouldn't want to drive on it, no.
I mean, it looks fine.
I mean, it looks okay until it doesn't, but the bus is going down the middle, and you're going to have 2 buses on there. It didn't seem like there's a ton of room for it, so it's going to be tight. It's going to be slow moving. It's going to be a mess of traffic and people getting clearance to go through, and oh man, just craziness.
Yeah, you're right. The bus did drive in the middle because they're still testing and to be safe. But yeah, there's not going to be any high speed driving over this bridge. It's going to be very slow. And to your point, you're not allowed inside the race zone unless you have reservations or something. So hopefully they're going to try to keep people off of it. But this is the way that they're going to help get people in and out of the resort corridor for the race with these bridges. That's the answer to the question that everybody asked. How are people going to get to work? Yep, this is it. You're going to sit in traffic for 2 hours
Terrible.
on one of those temporary bridges. But it's better than nothing, Mark. It's better than nothing.
I'm telling you what, I would get an Uber from the airport and have them drop me off outside the zone, and I would walk in with my luggage. I would not want to sit in that. It's just going to be nuts. It's going to be, just prepare to be frustrated. Like, get your Zen on before you start moving your way into this.
Yeah, it's like New Year's Eve on the Strip. It's the same kind of thing where it's just a hassle, and then you finally get to where you go, you have fun, and then it's like a 3-mile walk to get back to your car because you got to figure out where it was. Because that's what I always did. I would park outside the resort areas and then walk in because it was just so hard back in the day to do that. But I'm old, Mark, and I haven't been to the Strip on New Year's Eve for a while, so can't really speak to that experience these days, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's how we are. We're old rollers.
Yeah, so let's talk about the A's. John Fisher, the A's owner, just had an interview with the Review Journal because the A's finally submitted their paperwork to Major League Baseball for their relocation. That's the official sort of process. Now the owners and the commissioner will kind of evaluate it, and then they will vote, and we expect them to vote to approve it. Basically, I mean, they've been behind this all along. But he does this really extensive interview, and he answers a lot of questions that are very interesting. Has he considered selling? He says, no, I'm not going to sell the team. He says, I've owned the team since 2005, and I've been looking for a new home for them since then. Now, this is a guy who is widely criticized for not embracing the Oakland city, and here he is saying, I bought the team 20 years ago, and since that day, I've been trying to move them, or at least get them a new home, maybe a new stadium in Oakland. He also said that the A's are going to lose $40 million this year, which I haven't heard of a major league sports franchise losing money. Now, remember, the A's are in risk of losing their profit sharing, right? If they didn't get a stadium deal by, I think, the end of January of next year, they were going to lose their profit sharing. I always assumed the profit sharing really drove them into the green, but he seems to be saying no.
I'm skeptical of this, and I'm sure there's some funny accounting they get to get this and get a tax rebate or write-off or whatever. I'm like, okay, maybe they're spending a lot on their lease. I looked that up. They paid $1.2 million last year for the Coliseum. So, and they're not refurbishing that or fixing it up in any way, so there's no money going there. So I don't know. This is all before ticket sales merchandise sales, concession sales, which I know they don't sell a ton of tickets, but still, you're getting all that money. I don't know where you're already 40 million under, and then you're saying you're losing another 40 million on top of that. I just don't see it.
That's cheap. What is that, like under 10K a game? That's insane.
It just doesn't add up to me, and I'm definitely no expert for MLB teams, but the math, it seems a bit funky.
What I found interesting in this interview is he's very careful to say how the other owners and the commissioner have all the power here, like to not try to overstep his bounds, and to give them the respect because they are really deciding this. So they asked about the Las Vegas ballpark, the home of the Aviators, and whether that's where they would play after next season, because they only are allowed to stay in the Oakland Coliseum, at least as of their lease as of now, through the end of next season. And he basically said there's some improvements needed. It's up to Major League Baseball on where they'll play. So the commissioner and the other owners will decide where they play in the interim while they build their stadium. And then he dropped this thing in there. The question was, are you considering a fixed roof or are you sticking with a retractable roof? Remember, they were very, very adamant in all of their proposals and the law that they got passed, all the funding that they got, that this was a retractable roof stadium. And of course, now that they got their money, they're not doing the retractable roof. He hedges a little bit, but if he hedges, they're not building that retractable roof.
Yeah, and that just goes to show that whenever you give public funding, they never, follow through. There should be stipulations. If you don't, once you put the retractable roof in, you get this chunk of money and that type of thing, but they never write it in that way. So they always back down and do less than what they promise. And, that will be sad because, certain months of the year, April, May, even into end of September, Vegas is great at night and you want that roof open. So that's something, an experience that you won't get now if they don't add it in. So hopefully, he gets a lot of backlash for that and they put it in.
Just more confirmation that concept art was BS, right? It's not a real stadium. This was just something they threw together to get it in front of lawmakers. The stadium
Where was
won't
the
look
casino?
anything like that. Yeah, exactly. And we knew that when it came because it was a ridiculous concept art. But he said they haven't made their final decision yet. Again, this was always pitched as a retractable roof stadium, never pitched as a dome. But he said even if it's a fixed dome, which we know it's going to be a fixed dome, it will have large openings and a lot of clarity in the roof structure and walls that it will have a feeling of being outdoors, even though you have a roof over your head. So that's what you're going to get on the Strip. They'll put some windows so you can see the Strip in the background, maybe similar to Allegiant, I guess.
Yeah, that's a shame. Baseball is meant to be outside, at least, not in the heat of the summer, but the shoulder seasons, you should have that roof open and get the views. That's the big thing. That was the big selling feature, that you get awesome views of the Strip, from the backstop, watching from behind home plate, and it was going to be spectacular, and now you're probably not going to get most of that.
All right, last thing, we're a little long on this subject, but we have to talk about the Mark Davis and Fisher feud, right? These guys really don't like each other. Mark Davis thinks that Fisher sort of screwed him as the Raiders were leaving Oakland, and in this interview, he sort of admits it. He apologizes and says it was his fault. He didn't make it easy on the Raiders when they were leaving. Mark Davis has said basically the A's signed a lease with the Coliseum in order to block the Raiders from getting a new stadium on that site. And he seems to be trying to make nice with Mark Davis as he moves here. So he was a little humble in that interview, and I think probably Mark Davis appreciated that, but I doubt they'll be, hanging out anytime soon.
Well, he was like, the Raiders have been successful. I want to know how they've been successful. They sell 60% of their tickets to the visiting team. That's how they're successful.
They have done a good job, a better job than I think a lot of people expected as far as coming here and being in the community. And I'll give them credit for that as far as what Mark Davis has done. A team that was very sort of divisive when it came. But yeah, he's looking to them and the Golden Knights and to see what's going on. So I don't know. I left this thinking at least he was a little humble in this interview. I don't have all the personal history that a lot of A's fans do who hate him. So hopefully we will move along here. We should know in the next couple months with the approval, and then they'll start with everything else. And then we might actually get to see what the stadium is going to look like, because we know that big concept arch thing ain't going to happen. So good old Las Vegas smoke and mirrors.
Turn of events. It's going to be at the Allnet Arena.
There you go. So let us know what you think about anything we talked about today. The Allnet Arena, Mark's favorite thing. We got a couple of MTM Vegas drinking game references in here today. Throw it up. So it's good stuff. Although poor Chris Angel wasn't mentioned. So we'll have to do better. But let us know what you guys think about anything we talked about. The leaks everywhere, the A's relocation, F1 reversing, the look inside the sphere. Do you love that screen? I do. I think it looks fantastic. Hit me up in the comments. We'll discuss everything there. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and we'll be back in just a couple days with another show. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good weekend.